Hello there, it's Cassie. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am back with an encouraging card today, and I know I'm a little bit late getting it up here on this Monday, but it has been a crazy day. So let's just go ahead and get started with my encouraging card. This is number 17. I am starting off with a piece of Tailored Expressions blue corn cardstock, and I have trimmed that down to 4 inches by 5 1/4, and I am layering a stencil over the top of that. That is the Simon Says Stamp Harvest stencil, and I am just going to tape that on the back using some washi tape that I have. And I've got some Distress Oxide ink in Wilted Violet along with my mini ink blending tool, and I'm just going to kind of sponge that all over the front. I'm not going to try and do total coverage. I just want a slight impression, I guess is what you could call it. I don't want the full stencil all over the back of that. And now I have a piece of Nina Desert Storm cardstock that I have cut down to 4 1/4 by 11 inches and scored at 5 1/2 inches to make that a top folding A2 size card. And I am pulling out my stamp platform now. I'm going to do some Copic coloring, so I have my stamp platform, some Express It cardstock, and I am inking those images up with some Memento Tuxedo Black ink. Those images come from a Hero Arts set called Foam Animals, and I have the dies as well. I got these with a recent kit. It was an add-on, and couldn't wait to ink it up, and then didn't get a chance, so now I'm finally doing it. So I'm starting off with some Copic coloring, and I'm using the colors BG96 to start. I'm going to have a green cup and saucer, and it looks kind of sloppy right now, but believe me, there is a method to it. I know there are a lot of people that do prefer to do dark Copics and then their lighter Copics, but I have found for me that just doesn't work as well, and I tend to end up using a lot more color, and I don't really want to do that. So because when you use more color, then you have to fill up your markers a lot more often with your refills. And so this way it's a little bit more economical for me. So I am layering G99 over the top of that to try to get a little variation. And then I will blend that back out with the BG96. So it does have a little bit of a highlight, not a lot. And then I will blend those out, and then I will bring back in that G99 to darken up some of my darker spots. Ended up liking how that looked. It was a little splotchy, but I will bring in my colorless blender to help even that out. And now for the foam on the coffee, I am using the colors E21 for my light color. And that little foam doggy, oh my gosh. I've never actually gotten a coffee with one of these little foam critters on it, but I would probably about die if I did. It'd be so fun. I would have a hard time drinking it. And then I'm going over that for my darker color is E33. So I'm just filling in some of those spots where I think the darker might be. And then I will bring back in the E21 to blend that out. And I'll even bring in my colorless blender to do a little bit of that blending as well. Because I imagine, even though I've never had these little foam critters, or foam anything on the top of my coffee, that it would probably still have a lot of white in it as well. So I'm just going back and forth with those colors until I get what I'd like. And then I'll even take that colorless blender eventually when I'm done, shading everything out, and I will try and fix some of the mistakes around the coffee cup. I got a little carried away with that color, and it got out of the coffee cup a little bit. So now I'm snipping apart the dies that I bought with the set, and I'm going to tape those down with some micropore tape over those images, and then I will run that through my Sizzix Sidekick machine. It's just a little smaller machine, does the same thing as a Big Shot, just with smaller images. And since I tend to cut mostly smaller images, this thing is my workhorse. So I love this thing. And I will have that linked down below if that's something that you're interested in. And now I'm going to work on my sentiment. So this set has a lot of great sentiments, and I figured Hello Gorgeous would be a wonderful, encouraging sentiment. So I've lined that up on my glass mat. And I've picked that up with just a stamp block, and I've got some black cardstock that I'm going to just prepare with my powder bag. And then I'm going to grab some Versamark ink, which is just a clear sticky ink for embossing or watermarking. And then I will stamp my sentiment onto the black cardstock. And then I'm going to cover that with some Simon Says Stamp Ultrafine White Embossing Powder. And then I will melt that with my heat tool. Just making sure that it's melted. You don't want to over melt, just till it's melted. And then I'll pick all that stuff up and let that kind of cool down before I start trimming down my image. And I'm using my Fiskars wire trimmer. And then I will put a flag banner in it. And someone had asked about this earlier, how I do it. So normally you'd try and trim that down just a little bit more, but I trim right to the center, and then each of the sides I go right back to the center, if that makes any sense. You could watch that over if you're a little bit interested in how that is done. I'm adhering my blue corn cardstock to my card base just using a tape runner, and then I'm going to adhere my little foam puppy to the top of my coffee mug. And then I will cover everything with foam tape. And I'll set my sentiment down. And then I will take all the backing paper off of my little coffee cup and puppy. And then I will set that on top of my sentiment. And for a final bit of embellishment, I am going to grab some Nouveau Crystal Drops in Violet Galaxy. This stuff was just perfect. It matched my Distress Oxide ink and Wilted Violet very wonderfully. And that will end up finishing off this card after I tap down just to get those flattened a little bit to make them look a little bit more like enamel dots. And that finishes off the card. So if you like this card, if you would like to hit the like button, that would be awesome. If you haven't subscribed, I would love it if you did so. And as always, thanks for stopping by.